Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Are we getting Hutts coming soon to Star Wars Legion? This is the question of the day. We'll talk about why this question is being asked, what has led to it, and if it holds any water. I've got opinions on it too, but I'll share the facts with you first. Reminder, we are doing a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. We pretty much run those all the time. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. For this one, I would love to hear your thoughts on if we could get Hutts in Star Wars Legion, how you think they might look, and what's something that you would want to see. I think with the Book of Boba Fett shining a light on a lot more Hutt-related activities than we had seen before, plus Rancors and lots of mercenaries and bounty hunters and things like that, I think it definitely works. I think there's enough bones in Star Wars Legion already to make that happen. But why are we asking this question in the first place? I want to take you back a few weeks to a post made on social media by Atomic Mass Games heralding the IG-88 and IG-11 expansions that were getting ready to come out. Of course, this is more of a routine post where they're saying, hey, look, these guys are going to be available to pre-order soon, so on and so forth. And, of course, eagle-eyed viewers had noticed behind IG-88 there is a Hutt, not Jabba the Hutt either, a different unnamed Hutt, which might potentially signal multiple Hutts being included, and if there are indeed multiple Hutts, because how could you do one Hutt and not Jabba, or Zero, or any of the other popular Hutts that are out there? Of course, that would naturally seem like it was a hint at Hutts potentially coming in. People even commented on that post asking if there were going to be Hutts. I've seen some posts over social media following that announcement. I think what people failed to realize is that was just IG-88's command card, which of course they did choose to feature the art. So it is possible that it was a choice because it was just a good picture. It also could be a choice because they wanted to drop subtle hints and kind of measure interest. And they have done things like that before. If we go back to a certain command card that was a Spec Ops command card called Ruthless, this one was teased a couple of months ago, heralding Savage Opress, which then, if you fast forward to Gen Con, we did actually get Savage Opress, surprise, surprise, in a glass case. We'll see more of him at Mini Stravaganza coming up in November, and of course we'll be covering that. There will be more information. But is it possible that there could also be Hutts that are coming in November at Mini Stravaganza as well? I don't think so, but it is possible. And I'll tell you one big reason why. That particular image wasn't exactly new art. If we go back to the old style of Star Wars Legion, we'll notice that IG-88 had the exact same art on his command. It's not like they updated the art specifically for a new release. So that's why I don't think that it was necessarily a hot teaser for incoming Hutts. However, that doesn't rule it out. And I say that because it is possible that they wanted to do Hutts maybe sooner, and this was more of a long-term seed or a long well-laid spoiler plans. But because if you look at, for example, focused on the kill IG-88 or the other card there, his one pip, it only features, it doesn't feature Zuckuss and Forlom, and but we do have Bosk and IG, although we don't have Dengar yet. So does that also mean Dengar is coming, right? So it's I don't think so, although Dengar would be cool. And maybe he is. Maybe I aimed the video towards Hutts when I should have been aiming it towards Dengar, right? But the Hutt image is the one that was chosen for the social media post. And, of course, I do think it was likely that they just picked one of the command cards. Because if they had chosen this one, for example, then people would be asking the same question about Dengar and so on and so forth. It's like take six of one, half a dozen of the other. But it is still possible. We've seen a lot of stuff with, Shadow Collective getting a little bit more love. We've seen spoilers recently about Legion's current factions, indicating there could be new factions. They could be a battle force. We've seen more of the Hutts with the Book of Boba Fett. There's definitely a lot of these things that are possible. Hutts also can do some wild and crazy things. There's some pretty cool Hutt stuff that's going on in some of the exterior media, especially especially the comics. There's like all kinds of wild and crazy Hutts in the comics. There was even like a Hutt that used lightsabers. There's a lot of cool stuff, and there's a lot of lore that they could potentially draw from. However, I don't know if they'd really want to go that deep too fast, but there do exist some really interesting Hutts between all of the story arcs involving the Hutts in the Clone Wars, and of course all of the newer stuff that kind of goes closer to modern era. And Hutts live for a long time, so you have very little issue if you want to include Jabba, whether it's Clone Wars era or modern time era. You can't really go into the sequel trilogy timeline and include Jabba, though, because Leia the Hutt Slayer took him out. Spoilers, Return of the Jedi. So what do I think? At the end of the day, what's the verdict? I think it's definitely possible. There is supposed to be a lot of new stuff coming between Mini Stravaganza and also going into next Adepticon. There have been a lot of kind of whispers that really exciting stuff is coming. Of course, my first guess would not have been Hutts, but at the end of the day, they did sort of choose that spoiler as an option. Might not mean that Hutts come in as their own faction. Maybe Hutts come in as just an option. Maybe they come in as a battle force. But one of the things that I have to say about Hutts specifically, not necessarily the Hutts syndicate as a battle force, but Hutts as the specific units, is wouldn't they have to sort of have like a different approach? Like, how would you really do a Hutt in the game? It's not all Hutts are like to move. Now, that doesn't mean they're not mobile. They just don't like to move. There's some Hutts that are very mobile. And then there's some Hutts, gosh, I think playing the Old Republic, there was a Hutt that had like robotic legs, and he just like would walk around on those and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of terrifying ways that Hutts have to move around. And I think that could be really interesting in Star Wars Legion. They could be an infantry that have like a notched base or a larger base, or maybe an all new base. Maybe they don't even get a base. They have to be carried by other based characters. I mean, that's cool, right? Like, again, I think it's a cool opportunity to think outside of the box, but what do you guys think? Do you think Hutts are a possibility? And do you think that the art that we've seen in social media posts and in IG, the IG-88 and IG-11 packs, do you think that that's hinting towards something? I think it's definitely a cool idea to keep the door open, but I don't think that it means that they're necessarily coming. Of course, you know, a lot of interesting things could happen. I do think we're going to see new factions. I still want to see Gungans before I see anything else. I think that would be a fun one. I'd love to see more stuff done with certain existing Battle Force. Love to see General Riken come out for Echo Base. I'd love to see more Wookiees. You know, there's a lot of things that I'd love to see. I think there's a lot of things that we'd all love to see, and maybe we should do a video about that in next time, talking about like some Star Wars Legion units that we'd love to see added. Because frankly, it's been sort of a light year. Maybe it's been a light couple of years. There's been a lot of restructuring. There's been a lot of refocusing, a lot of rules changes, a lot of new edition work, a lot of art removal, a lot of new reprints and resculpts. And through all of that work, we haven't seen, because I think FFG was in a momentum of just like, we've got it, we've got the art style, we've got the rule set, we've got the developers, we've got the knowledge, we've got the play testers, we've got the machine is well oiled, and we're pushing out content. And I think AMG has had to kind of reinvent that machine. And hopefully we'll get into that, like, okay, it's now well oiled, and now we're going to start pushing out content. I'd love to see that coming for for this next year. Hutts could be an option in that. Then again, they might not. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Also, jump in our Discord. Let's keep the discussion going. Did you like Book of Boba Fett? Do you think there's other things from Book of Boba Fett? I have talked before about the Pikes and how I'd love to see those. I think there's a lot of people who want to see Mandalorians show up to Star Wars Legion. I think definitely there's a lot of doors that are open for many of those things. Another character that was heavily featured in Book of Boba Fett, Chrysanthemum. In the comics, known as Black Chrysanthemum, and TV just known as Chrysanthemum. I wonder why they named him that and then decided, whoa, whatever. It's weird how things like that go. But in the way it goes, he's really cool character, one of my favorite characters from the show. Like, a lot of really cool stuff. But Here's one more bonus question for you guys at the end of my video. If they do a Book of Boba Fett themed kind of wave where they start taking, like, making battle forces and units from there, does that mean that the Power Rangers scooter gang is going to make it into Star Wars Legion? I'm asking you what you think. I think it could be really cool. I think, like, the little guy who spins before he shoots, like, it's sort of become a meme, and I love it. It was silly, I get that, but it's okay for things to be silly. There's always been a few silly things in Star Wars. C-3PO, the original silly dude in Star Wars, right? Han Solo was a little silly with us on the radio, you know, with his conversations with, you know, Imperials on the Death Star. There's always been a little bit of silliness. This one was a little more silly than usual, but I'm over it, and it's fun. Same thing with the gang and their brightly colored scooters. Was very American graffiti. However, if it comes in a miniature, you can paint it however you want. I would probably keep those colors, but I might make them a little more subdued, maybe a little bit more grimy. Like, maybe they've been out in the sun for a couple of months now, and now they're starting to fade. You know, like, there's ways to approach that. I don't know, but maybe you disagree. I know some people are very opinionated about the scooter gang from Book of Boba Fett, and I wouldn't have a problem having them in there. I think mechanically, people on scooters fits very well into the game. They're not fast enough that they would need an overrun attack, but they could be pretty mobile. We already have speeder bikes, right? They wouldn't have to be that fast. There's lots of different ways they could approach it. Could be kind of cool. Might be terrible. How about Cobb Vanth? You know, it's just so many cool things. Love to see in Star Wars Legion, especially coming out of Book of Boba Fett. Maybe I should rewatch that show. I wonder how good it would be on a second watch. What about Tusken Raiders? What about, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff. All right, well, I kind of went off topic. Let's go ahead and wrap the video up. That's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. Patrons, you guys are amazing. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel, check out the links for Patreon, as well as the other links in the description below. We'll talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.